I always say to my clients, think about a speech or a presentation like a gift.
Emma Taylor, public speaking coach with 21 years coaching everyone from MPs to entrepreneurs. She's seen every speaking mistake and knows exactly how to fix it fast. Actor trained, Emma gives real-world public speaking and comms hacks that work instantly. From wedding toast to boardroom pitches. You want to hear this one.
And make that bolder statement as long as you're not barking at the same time. You know, it's tone. Exactly. Tone makes such a difference as long as the tone feels right.
If you put controversial headlines up ahead, do this or you'll die, then that's really gonna. It's okay and advisable and just the right thing to do to get help and to improve this, just the same way you would sharpen any other skill. You know, this is a very important life skill, public speaking. Thanks, Emma, for coming on. You've got an incredible set of skills that I know everyone listening will benefit from. And I'll call those, and correct me if I'm wrong, but public speaking skills, presentation skills, how you speak skills. How would you frame it? The whole thing of performing, even on a online stage like this.
Yeah, I would say I call what I do public speaking, and I think there's the public speaking that we all assume is a person on a stage. That's the real high end, all singing, all dancing public speaking. But then equally, I would say when you speak in a public environment, so if you're in a meeting and
like
you make a contribution, or a Zoom call when there are more people present, or you're in a larger meeting, I don't know, you're at a parents' evening and you just want to ask a question, so you put your hand up and there's a room full of people. Now, in that moment, you're not making a presentation, but you are public speaking.
You're speaking in public. And us, we're speaking in public online. So this will go out and people will see the way that we communicate. And feel free to tear apart the way that I present. I mean, I always feel it's so good to learn. And it's so wonderful to meet experts in their field and people that really know their craft. And that, I mean, you've been doing this 21 years.
I have, yes. It shocks me.
You're really, really experienced. You work with actors, lawyers, politicians.
Yes, a real array. I mean, surveyors, chess players. I mean, that's the beauty
of chess players.
Well, I think this person had to go and give a talk. She was a chess professional, and she also runs a school for children learning chess. Yeah. And there was some conference and she was asked to give a speech at. And so from being someone who's an expert at chess to suddenly being at a conference where you've got 1,000 people to speak to, I mean, that's a huge task. So that was a really lovely speech to help somebody prepare and then get over. But no, it really is. I do run the gamut of clients. And actually, I would say in one sense, that's what makes my job interesting, because the skills don't particularly change, but the people do. Yeah. And the types of speech that they need to give are always very different.
Yeah, the politicians just want to skirt around the thing, but in a way they've got to do so. If there's something very controversial and they don't want to answer it, they have to politely move away or gently steer from that.
Well, they should address the question and then get on to their key message.
They need your training. Some of them definitely need your training. Yeah, because it becomes really annoying when they don't actually answer questions. Yeah. So they're being probably given the wrong advice there, I would say. But yes, and then you've got CEOs, and then you've got just someone who's trying to have the confidence to put their hand up in a meeting or to speak up in a Zoom call, which, you know, can also be scary, and it can be quite intimidating when you've got all these people looking at you and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the difficulty about the Zoom call. It's not just that you've got a lot of people there, and that's if they've got their cameras on, but it's the closeness of the screen. Yeah. I did some work a couple of years ago at a solicitor's firm in Leeds, and the week before I went in, they had a psychologist to go in and give a talk about, well, I don't particularly know. I mean, it couldn't have exactly been public speaking, but it doesn't matter. But she was saying the reason why so many of us dislike speaking virtually is because when you're on that meeting and you've got 16 faces on the screen, they're right up against your face. Imagine if that happened in real life. It would be absolutely petrifying. Yeah. And then, of course, there's the lack of feedback. Or with the Zoom call, it's any little facial muscle or someone yawns, maybe because they are a little bit tired or lacking oxygen. Yeah. And then your mind just starts to run on and, well, potentially catastrophize.
Totally. And it's okay and advisable and just the right thing to do to get help and to improve this, just the same way you would sharpen any other skill, you know. This is a very important life skill, public speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And it always amazes me that people assume it's an innate talent. Now, for some people, it is. You know, Barack Obama was always going to be a great public speaker. Michelle Obama, however, had to work at it. Oh, right. And you can work at it. You can learn technique with structure, thinking about how am I going to structure this speech. So many people are so quick just to rush and come up with a PowerPoint presentation. That's no good. The speech needs to have a journey. It needs to have some flow. And then after that, of course, thinking about delivery technique, so that sometimes you're still, sometimes you're moving, that the face, the emotional organ is selling the message, that your pace is right, that the range is good, so that we don't have that, you know, monotone as we're talking. Yeah. And again, that can be taught. So I think children that have been to schools where there is a debating society, and then those children that do get involved in drama as well, are at an advantage. They're learning these skills from a very early age. But for those of us that weren't taught debating at school, and maybe there wasn't that fantastic drama club, or there was, but our parents couldn't afford to let us go, we then have to come to it a little bit later in life and pick up those skills. But you can pick them up, and it's up to you to embed them.
I mean, the difference between what a public speaking can do for a person is huge. You know, if you think about someone like JFK, you know, most of the great politicians of the world, anyone who's sort of advanced in businesses had to learn that as well when they get in front of these huge crowds. You can move a massive audience just with the tone of your voice, can't you?
Oh, absolutely.
It's crazy.
Yeah, pace and tone and knowing when it's nice to use that chest voice, and then other times when you're selling ideas to keep it speedy and be in the head and sing a little bit more, and then to measure it, to change between the two. That can be really effective.
What a craft. Okay, so what we're going to do, we have so many questions to get through, and they're all valuable, and I want to get through as many as we possibly can. So how are we going to get through these questions? We're going to get through them somehow, but we'll take it one by one and just go, because this is the way, these are the questions that people are asking, and I know that if we can get them answered, we're totally giving value to our audience, and everyone can get better at public speaking.
And we're all about giving value.
We're all about giving value, and we want people to watch this episode and learn from this episode and become way better at public speaking. That's basically, it's a simple goal. Let's see if we can do it. Okay, well, you've got two generally good. You're a better, more professional speaker, but you know, we'll see how we. Can we get, this is a challenge for us, can we get through this volume? Okay, let's go from the first thing. What's the biggest public speaking mistake people make?
Not really thinking about who you're speaking to. I see so many presentations where you can feel that the presenter is just rolling out what they've always done, rather than thinking, who's this audience, be it an audience of 5 or 35? What do they care about? What do they need to know? And therefore tweaking my presentation appropriately, rather than just doing the same old sales presentation that they always do. You know, it's a case of getting rid of this section and these slides, but actually this audience will probably benefit from knowing X, so I'll put in some other fresh material there. So it's not always about having to start from scratch. This is what people fear. You know, I haven't got the time to write it all from scratch. It's fine, but as long as you adapt it so that the audience feels the presentation is absolutely relevant, and more than that, that the audience feels that it was considered when that presentation was being crafted. I always say to my clients, think about a speech or a presentation like a gift. When you're on the receiving end of a gift, you can feel if you've been considered when this gift was purchased. Equally, you can feel if someone just grabbed that bottle of vodka from the local off license and thought that'll do, and you're not even a vodka drinker. You know, it's got to feel pertinent to the audience.
That's very powerful, because I asked you what's the biggest mistake we make when we speak in public, a person makes. And it's not about what the person is speaking, how the person is speaking. It's about the message to the other person, what they're receiving, rather than what you're saying, how you're saying, whether you're standing, breathing like this, or high tone, low tone. That's crazy.
It's about them. And sometimes, it's funny here today, you're being a host. Sometimes I'll say to my clients as well, think about that as a host. Imagine someone's coming into your home. How would you treat them? You would make that evening go in such a way that's going to make them feel comfortable, and they're going to go away having had a good time. Now, a speech isn't all about having a good time. I appreciate that. But it's about them knowing that their needs had been met and that they'd been considered.
Because I suppose you're saying something for a reason. You're delivering a message that's hopefully of importance that the person is receiving, that needs to receive it for whatever reason. So you have to make sure that you're considering them. I love that. That's why you're on. This is incredible. Okay, so if you just had 60 seconds to give someone a tip that transforms their speaking, what would it be?
There are two, but it's got to be one. In which case, I'd probably say work on your eye contact. We always talk about connection. And I would say, aside from the voice, because you have to have a voice in order to speak, the next important technique, the next way of really conveying a message is by seeing your audience. Let them know that you have seen them. So many speakers, though, their eyes are anywhere. They're at their notes, a screen, looking around the hall, or just sort of fading out. It's dreadful. Let your audience, regardless of the size of it, know that you are seeing it. Gosh. So sometimes see that room as a big circle. Other times zone in, speak to the 5 to 10 people that are sitting in a certain pocket of the room, connect with them, and then have some one-to-one eye contact. If your audience is less than, say, 70, then that's possible. And make sure you see everybody. And it's not just about the people that are directly in front of you. It's also about the people in the awkward pockets. Making sure that you physically turn round and you acknowledge their existence.
Yeah, and of course in a Zoom call you can't do that, but you might refer to someone or you might acknowledge them. There's something as well about customer service. If you're in a queue to check in at the airport or whatever, it makes such a difference when the person who's actually serving everyone looks up and acknowledges you, doesn't it? It's just a little look.
It's very simple and very human. Yes. And the thing is, when you do that to an audience, then it looks at you, it gives you its full attention. Whereas if an audience feels that you haven't got your eye on it, well, then they don't owe you anything. They'll look around, they'll get their phone out. Whereas when it knows you're looking at them, it's less likely to.
Okay, and then this one's interesting. It's a question about trying to get a message across, let's say 30 to 60 seconds. You don't have a lot of time. You don't want to, I'm quite conscious of this as well, but in a Zoom call, you don't want to ramble on too long. But how can people is there a way to test how long you're speaking? How can you be aware of how long you're speaking? Should you be thinking about, I'm going on a bit? How do you measure?
I think the second you think, am I going on a bit? You probably are going on a bit.
It's a good question. It's good to be self-aware. Yeah.
It always depends on what it is you're trying to get across. So sometimes 30 seconds will be too much for a particular point. Other times, 2 minutes won't do a point justice. But my rule is, when you open the contribution, to have a statement, to open with a nice, clear statement. I don't know. tipping in restaurants needs abolishing, and waiters need to be paid a proper wage. That's the statement, right?
Love.
Then after that, you will illustrate it. You'll say why that's true. And then you'll finish. You'll round off neatly. Because what we don't like, or what never feels good in a meeting, and we've all done it and we've all witnessed it, is when someone does start to ramble and they go on a bit, and you think, is this where it's going to finish?
Yeah.
And then they go on a bit more and you think, I think I've heard this before. And they just know that you're going to end. And that can sometimes just be by repeating your statement, so for that reason. So that's why I say tipping needs to stop. We need to pay waiting staff fairly.
Okay, I love it. Okay, so it's a story arc.
Yeah, or a message sandwich, if you like, with your illustration in the middle.
Sandwich.
That's the filling. In a way, that is filling. And you've got the statements either side.
So it's like newspaper headlines.
Yeah.
Big story.
Oh, definitely.
Detail, but you close nicely.
Yeah. And if you can just start embedding that habit, well,
okay, so we need to think a little bit more about our structure. Having a story to tell, even if it's a little point. It deserves a structure as well, is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
The eye contact, and then considering who we're speaking to, so that we know to the best of our ability that they're receiving the message in the right way. That
that it's relevant to them.
Okay, already I feel like we're making a good point. Okay, so if someone wants to try sound smarter, let's say, more, or maybe authoritative, like just more, wants to sound like a leader, whatever you want it to be, is there a way, something simple that they can do with their voice, with their body language to command a bit more, authority or whatever you want to call it,
I mean, leaders come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, don't they? I think excitement sometimes when you're selling an idea, enthusiasm, passion when you are in sales mode or you're trying to be persuasive. I always think about Professor Brian Cox and his physics.
Yes,
I mean, if he
I
wasn't
love him.
And if he wasn't as enthusiastic about it as he is, he wouldn't have the following he gets.
No.
Part of it is inspired by his personality.
Oh, he loves it.
So I think where you are genuinely passionate and excited about something, really let that show. Other moments, if we're looking to be authoritative, it is about being able to have the difficult conversations, of course, and mentioning the elephant that's in the room and doing it with steadiness. So again, thinking about being composed, slow pace, making people's eye contact then. That's really important when you're delivering a harder message.
Oh, that's good advice. There's also things going around. I find these quite interesting, actually, little clips on TikTok, social media about certain words that we can use, certain phrases that we shouldn't use.
Right.
That make us sound a little bit, like we're not really sure, and it doesn't give that credibility stamp, kind of think.
Yeah.
It's sort of.
The qualifiers. Yes. Try and get rid of
why
them.
Do we do that? What is that? It's
of.
like, why? Is it fillers?
I don't know sometimes if it's a bit cultural in that to be too strong with a point doesn't feel very British, that we'd say kind of, because we think that was more gentle, and I think that's why women do that as well, because otherwise you might come across as being strident. But I think it's absolutely fine to take away the qualifiers and make that bolder statement, as long as you're not barking at the same time. It's tone. Exactly, tone makes such a difference as long as the tone feels right. But I mean, one thing, and it's similar to the qualifiers, try and get rid of the fillers, the I think those hesitations can give people the feeling that you don't really know what you're talking about. And for so many people, it's just a habit. I know people, they'll err at the end of sentences, or they'll finish a sentence and they'll say, you know, or you know what I mean, you know what I mean. And it's just a habit.
You know, literally, I said it just now. When I edit these podcasts, I have a look and I'll go through the podcast and then I notice them. Because I look, how many M's are there? And you know, and kind of maybe sort of you think, seriously?
Really?
I wasn't aware that I did it as much as I do. I was not aware of that. I thought I'm actually pretty good. I don't go too much. You know?
I think there'll always be some, and don't beat yourself up too much. But there are some speakers who just and you know.
It's really.
And then the problem with that is not only do people then potentially lose confidence, they start looking out for the so.
It's like an infection.
So, yeah.
Okay. Another thing. No, we won't do that. Should you rehearse before doing a speech? Should you rehearse before going into a Zoom call? How much practice do you need, or does that make you robotic?
Yeah, I think it completely depends on the speech. I mean, I would say going into a Zoom call, no. It might not be a bad idea. You know, as I said before, if you're making points, just to say aloud the statements, those messages that you want to convey. Say the statement out loud a few times so that, you know, you can really get your mouth around them, and that there's not a word in your head that you think you're going to use that has 5 syllables, and then as you try and say it, you're you're tripping all over it. Best to substitute that with a 1 or 2 syllable word. Yeah. But no, keep it nice and relaxed then as you're illustrating why you've made that statement in a Zoom meeting. If you've got a keynote speech, you know, in that context, then absolutely, you've got to get on its feet and go through it a few times. And particularly, I'd say the opening and the close. That's the most important thing. If you can work from a few bullets or prompts mid-speech, because, yes, I know this section, and by this stage, adrenaline will have died down, I'll be feeling calm. Great, you know, that's not so vital. But I would say getting the beginning and the ending right is key.
Okay, let's talk about this keeping calm thing. So I remember as doing a lot of speeches as a child and public speaking festivals. I loved that. But it was like a nervous energy, and I love stress in a really weird way. But I remember feeling the intense nerves and things. And I think the only thing that ever helped me with that was breathing.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there are lots and lots of techniques. The 2 that I find most beneficial myself are to remind myself I've done my preparation, for one. Yeah. Okay. That's so important. If I know I've put in, let's say it is a keynote speech, and I know that in terms of thinking about my topic, structuring the speech, getting my visuals together, rehearsing it a few times, I've probably put in 6 hours of work there. Yeah. I mean, you've not done it in a block, but bit by bit, and as you've been driving along thinking about it, 6 hours of work. That's a lot of work. Yeah. So remember that. And then the next thing is, as you say, breathing. As you're waiting to go on, breathe properly. I've been practicing yoga for, more than half my life now. Awesome. And in pranayama, what's always key is that your exhalation is longer than the inhalation. So say you breathe in for 4, hold it for 2. There's that place where you're neither inhaling or exhaling. Yeah. Now exhale for 6. In for, and then you can you can make that in for 7. Hold for 2, hold out for 9. Just make sure the exhalation is longer. And that not only is it calming, it's also preparing the whole respiratory system for the job that it's got to do. But also it does bring down blood pressure. So there's so many perks to that. And let me tell you what I do as well. I marry this then with preparation, reminding myself about the preparation. So on the inhalation, I'm saying to myself, I have done my preparation internally, not out loud. And then on the exhalation, I say, I am prepared. So the mantra is, I have done my preparation. I am prepared.
Oh,
and let that happen a
love
few
it.
times. And that
It's
works a treat for
relaxing.
me. Yeah. Things, though, that other people need to be aware of is just tension. So many people, when we're tense, it goes to the neck, the shoulder, all around here. Yeah. And, of course, you need your larynx to work well.
It gets all...
So it's about being able to release that tension.
Is that why
the
people have
moment
this
you feel it.
nervous...
Yeah, it's because for some people it's all around the neck. Some people it's very much in the jaw. Quite a male thing for it to be in the jaw.
Yeah.
Around here. So
Listen up.
outside of public speaking, what I'd say as well is when you find yourself in moments of tension, you know, when things aren't going to where you're a bit scared, think about what's my body doing? Where is that tension?
Like this.
Yeah. And get into the habit then of being able to release it quite quickly.
Oh, therapy. I just did something which was interrupt you. So let's talk about that. How can you politely interrupt someone? And let's actually also, whilst I'm asking this question, talk about Piers Morgan. I'm sure you know him.
Yeah.
He's wonderful at interrupting people, and it's a normal thing for him, and it's part of the show. How come he gets it right? Is that because it's his brand, and is it okay to interrupt people?
Well, I think most of the time when people interrupt, they're doing it because they're excited and they agree with somebody. And as long as you're aware that that's it and you still want them to finish their sentence, you can chip in and then say, but go on, you were telling me about.
That's a good way.
That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I think rarely do people do it actually because it's been fueled by arrogance that they think they've got something better to say. Usually it's just done by excitement. I mean, we should probably try and wait it out and let the person finish and then come in. But let's not beat ourselves up if we are interrupting for the right reasons.
But sometimes it's...
Go on.
Sometimes, and and in podcasts as well, I can't let people carry on and on. So you go,
now is that because they're rambling?
Sometimes they're rambling. They might be going off piste.
Yeah.
They're in their own world.
Well, that's different. If they're going off piste, if we're no longer within the realms of the discussion,
they've gone.
Then I think always say the name. This is in meetings. Say the name. It gets their attention. Say thanks for that now, and then something different.
Okay.
I'll
use that. Voice. Let's talk about that. Mm-hmm. Should you be warming it up? I know singers do that, but for a speech, before a Zoom, if you don't want that, is there something you can do?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'll tell you something that I always find incredible. So you'll have actors, say at the Edinburgh Festival, and they're going out and they're playing to houses of 6 people sometimes. Yeah. I've done it. Yet they will still warm up their voices. Conversely, you'll have CEOs who are going out to conferences where there are 1,000 people in the hall, and they won't even think to do it. So absolutely, when you have that large audience and there's no amplification or little amplification, you should warm up your voice. So humming's a great thing to do. Just hum along to some music. Beatles ballads. Put on a Beatles ballad and hum along to it in the car, and that really starts to warm up the voice and it helps the breath as well. And then other things that are nice to do, tongue twisters. Warm up the articulators, because even if you do have amplification, getting your mouth to move around your words can be tricky.
I mean, I had that today.
Yes, and you think it's not even a particularly difficult word, but for some reason the mouth's journey to go from E to O maybe isn't there, and that's why there's sound.
Okay, so like she sells seashells on the seashore.
Brilliant, yeah. I'm sure the shell that she's... red lorry, yellow lorry is a brilliant one.
Red lorry,
because it's so tricky, because what you're asking your mouth to do is make 2 very different shapes. Yeah. There's lots of and actually it's that journey, making that shape, that just becomes too tiring, hence why the sound...
Yeah, it starts
to go. But if you can consciously think, I'm going to make the effort to... red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry. Then you're getting a really nice warm up in the lips, in the cheeks. Yeah, and this is what I'd say is vary them, because if all you're doing is she sells seashells, you're going to get good at it fast.
Yeah.
But that's not the point.
I'm very good at that one, actually. I can challenge people with
It's about changing them so that you're constantly being exercised.
Okay, so you spoke about preparation, and that's something that you inhale, I'm prepared, I know that I've done that. But can you also still fake a confidence on stage if you are really scared?
Yes. And I suppose the good news is most symptoms of adrenaline are not visible. People people can't see.
Oh, your heart.
People can't see the heart.
Actually, true. The sweat, they won't necessarily.
They won't necessarily see that. The
They'll see
dry
your
mouth that you might have. Now that what we can speak about, that's a separate thing. So when the symptoms aren't visible, as long as you go out there and you look at your audience and you give them a nice smile and you take your time, you keep that introduction nice and slow, and you've warmed up so you're not going to trip on your first line, which would be dreadful, then 5 minutes later that adrenaline will pass and everyone will think, oh, isn't she fantastic? And you were from the start. That's easy. So yes, you can absolutely fake it, and I think you should.
Okay.
And of course, the more you do of it, the less daunting it becomes as well. And I think that's the problem for so many people that come to me, is that they're only doing it once or twice a year. So it does become such an exceptional,
it's a big deal,
occasion.
Yeah.
When, though, the symptoms are visible, now that's something
you feel
different,
the redness,
of course. You feel the
going.
Yes.
Anxious.
Lots
of people have it, and I have had it in my life.
Yeah, I think in those situations, I would ask a good friend, to tell you how red it is. So if you're not particularly red, then you can get away with it. But I know when I was at drama school, there was call her woman now, girl on my course. And before she'd go on stage, she was scarlet, and you could actually see it rise from her neck to her hairline. It died down quite quickly. But people who sweat a lot, or who have the jittery hands. Now, with the sweats and the red face, I would say if it bothers you that you know your nerves are betraying you, then the best thing to do is probably to draw attention to it yourself and say, now look, you can probably see I've gone a bit heavy-handed with the blusher. This has nothing to do with the fact that my heart is racing presently. And they'll know it,
address it.
Address it, maybe make a virtue of it. And then with the hands, the shaking hands, use them. If you can sort of press out the shake by making some nice sharp gestures, as I'm doing now, you get rid of that shake. Oh,
that's interesting. Yeah.
So make the sharp gestures, make the small fists, and then as that calms down, you can relax and make more natural gestures.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so you can possibly address it. Okay, and what's your go-to 3-part formula for a talk that people actually remember?
Oh, I'm not sure I've got a 3-part formula. I think a good opening and close and something that's bold. Now, that means you're taking a risk, and lots of people are nervous to do that, to end with a story, just to end in such a way that, a punch, something that they're not quite expecting, that is inspiring. I think that's really important. I think that everything you're stating or maybe asking for needs to be plausible.
Okay.
Yeah, you always think, right, well, nice idea, but that will never work.
Yeah, saying something irrelevant. Yeah. Maybe run it by somebody before you, if possible. Bit of market research,
exactly.
I would call it.
And the other thing I would say is always come in slightly under time. If you're given 30 minutes to speak for 25. It's not test of endurance. No one's going to tell you off if you haven't filled every single second. Make it a really good 25 minutes, and then if they want to ask questions, they can. And no one ever begrudges having a slightly longer coffee break, in my experience.
That's good advice too. That's good advice. And for the modern Zoomers who want to use a PowerPoint presentation, and we hear the saying death by PowerPoint, and I do use PowerPoints, you know, for clients and things, and the people that work with me use them, but I'm always afraid of the PowerPoints because I find them very boring, and I try and keep them very minimal.
Are we talking about on Zoom
now?
With
Zoom, like... so you're presenting, you know, also it doesn't matter in real life as well, but you've got that PowerPoint because you have to show a graph, or you want to show some statistics.
I mean, my view is, for a graph, statistics, a table, a photo, if it's going to add value to your point, then it's absolutely fine. In fact, go for it. Why wouldn't you? What I'm not so keen on is, let's imagine we've got that Zoom presentation, and the second the presenter says hello, bam, we're in the Zoom.
Yes, we're in
and
the
they've
Zoom,
become that tiny box. No, don't do that. You be present. You fill that screen. And then just 5 minutes in, then go and open a couple of slides, talk around then get back out again and take up the space.
Yeah, because I mean, imagine if we had a big PowerPoint here and it's like, these are the three things we're going to discuss today. We're going to discuss and read it off. Bullet point 1, bullet point 2. It's just, you want to almost die from the boredom of that. I don't know. It just kills. There's something about it.
It is. I mean, I don't think it's a terrible tool, though. But I think it's about you being in control of it, not it controlling you. And you just bring it in now and again when it's enhancing and adding value to the point.
Okay. And how can you make technical information difficult, complicated? You know, people that deal with finances and heavy facts. How can you make that interesting in a public speaking kind of way? You are presenting now numbers and graphs. How does that?
Yeah, that can be really. I mean, I think it depends on the audience. Generally, people who are presenting that information are presenting it to an expert audience. So I think in that context, it doesn't matter. It's when they are presenting it to more of a novice audience that then they've got to think about how they're going to go about it. And I think that's where a good analogy can come in, so that instead of the
break it up
information on the mortgage, they can give us that information and then put it into a different world so that we can see how it works in that world, and then continue. What's nice is continue with that analogy a little bit into the presentation. So a bit like, you know, stand-up comedian will often do a callback at the end of their set where they refer to an observation that they made much earlier on in the set. Yeah. And that's something that you can do with a good analogy or a metaphor in a presentation. But I also think a nice simile can just, I mean, it's a very light touch here and there. An original simile can really brighten a presentation. I remember seeing Victoria Coren Mitchell once open up, a series of Only Connect. And I think she described it, she said, a quiz as hard as butter that's fresh out of the fridge. Oh, I hate that. And that was, again, a nice simile, because we all know
that too.
Yeah,
really
hate that too.
And it's so
dragging at your bread and,
It's so unsettling.
But that's what I mean. Think about it. Can you bring in a simile that can just lighten a point?
It will stop that presentation from being so boring and dry. And again, you're considering your audience, which is the first thing you said. Save them.
It's just a little bit of light relief.
It's a relief from these terribly boring facts. Give everyone a break, and they want their coffee. Okay, so on Zoom, whatever you might use, whatever technology, should your camera always be on, or is it rude to have it switched off?
Oh, I would never have it off if I'm giving a presentation. And even if I'm
just in a meeting,
I would always put my camera on.
You see, the younger generation like to have it off.
Yes,
they do. They switch it off. It's like,
maybe it's generational. I just think it's a bit rude.
I think it's rude,
and it helps. I suppose I just think it helps the speaker. You know, that listeners control the quality of a speaker's speech. So let's imagine you asked me what I was doing at the weekend, and then as I tell you, you're looking around the room or behind my shoulder. See if there's anybody else more interesting here than me. Now that's going to...
Yeah, it's just rude. It's horrible.
Yeah, that's going to change my ability to communicate. Suddenly I'm going to phase out because I'm thinking, well, she's not particularly interested. She's not interested. Yeah. And that's what I think about the camera. Just put it on and show that you are interested.
Yes, and also switch the microphone off maybe when there's background sounds, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's etiquette, I think.
I think so.
Keep it off. You know, there are people like that in real life where they're always looking, you know, they say, hi, oh, hi. And then
exactly, looking beyond you.
I know them. Yeah. I think, you know, for me, it was really interesting switching to the podcasting world because I grew up, as I said, doing public speaking, and I love that because I love to see the audience. I love adding something fun into their lives and making them laugh or just giving them energy. Just I love the notion of entertaining the crowd. I just love the crowd. And then, but with this, you don't see them. You don't see them. Like, I know from the stats, okay, like the demographic, and I know the countries and things like that, but I don't really know. And I mean, how do you find that? It's a bit sort of, for a public speaker, it's a different way to operate, isn't it?
When you're not seeing your audience. No, but I think they can still feel quality and care. You know, and do your preparation. Yeah. You thought about the question. You not just sort of raced in here. You've thought about the questions that you were going to ask me. You sent them to me. I've considered it. I've considered them, what they might find useful. I think as long as you can put in that quality of care in your preparation and in the delivery. No, you can't see them, but I suppose you'll know from figures whether it's hitting the spot or not.
Oh yeah, you'll know. You'll know what topics they find interesting. So I guess that's a little bit different. You know, you've got some of the really huge mega podcasters now today, they'll know that, for example, health is a mega topic, and that if you put controversial headlines out there, then do this or you'll die, or, then that's really gonna, but
draw them in. Yeah, it's the old clickbait. It's
a bit of a different. It's not as honest or clean or as a one-to-one. Even now in business, and as much as possible, I will always go and see the person and sit with them and touch base. And we'll have millions of these Zooms and all the time, every day, all the time. No problem. But I just feel that personal connection, it's just nothing can ever beat that.
Yeah,
ever.
Yeah. It's that, isn't it? You're not going to get a round of applause with a podcast as you do when you give that 30-minute speech. And yes, I understand that it possibly then feels a bit deflating. But as long as you're getting some thumbs up in the tick boxes, it's
not so much deflating because I love it. I know that it's still entertainment. It's just that
you're not getting that hit.
I'm not seeing them, so I'm not seeing the reaction. And then I've got to look to analytics for the analytics to tell me the reaction. Whereas, when you've got your audience, you can tell immediately. Exactly
how it's going. You can read the room. Read them. You get a giggle from them. Yeah, a spontaneous clap here and there. And also you get giggles in places where you didn't expect them. You thought, I didn't realise that was as funny as it's clearly landed.
So is it okay to read off notes? Because I have a lot of questions that I've just asked, and I just cannot memorize them all. It's just me, my brain. But yeah, I can't memorize these all, and I want to refer to the detail within them. So is that okay, or is that considered rude, or what's your thoughts?
No, it's absolutely okay given the context. It's not like your eyes are glued to your phone. It's just a prompt, isn't it? And then we're talking. Yes. Yeah, I think notes are absolutely fine. In fact, for some types of speech, I think it's fine to have it written out full hand and almost read it, but sight read it. So you're coming up and you're seeing your audience. So if someone's to give, say, a maiden speech in the House of Commons, they'll probably want the entirety of
the
that
whole
speech,
thing,
because if your mind suddenly does go blank,
that's the thing.
It's going to be very tough to it's going to be really tough to recover from that.
Recover.
Whereas if I'm seeing a 20-minute or a 10-minute sales pitch and someone is absolutely glued to their notes, that's not going to give me much confidence, because I'm thinking they should absolutely know about their product. They should be able, if they are using a few slides, to refer to them, but just talk to me.
Yeah, that's the thing. You should know that information. But if you're referring to it as a prompt, then it's...
And also, people often have more prompts than they need. Sometimes I look at people's prompt cards and it's absolutely
loaded
packed with I mean, it's just fully written. And if it's so fully written, you can't see the prompt. So on a prompt card, you just need to have 3 bullets, 3 words
that's a good tip, actually.
Trigger you rather than sentences.
Do you know, we were talking about the podcasters? So I know that some of the podcasters who do, a lot of the ones that love politics, political ones. So especially the American podcasters, I know that they've got a teleprompter. You can see the eyes a little bit moving. But they give these really long, 20-minute speeches. I would say it is a speech, isn't it? To the camera. So they have to know all of these figures that they're listing, and it's normally statistics and it's a lot of facts. And there's no way on earth that you would know that without. So they are looking at the screen and they're reading at their pace. And I know the politicians do that as well. So when you're saying that whole speech, that's what you mean.
Yes.
If it's an okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. And I suppose it's also the modern way of doing it now, when you've got that kind of thing. And I know that with politicians, when they get up and they do a lot of them, not all of them.
We're coming to party conference season now, and a lot that they'll have that
on a teleprompter.
Yeah. I mean, Ed Davey gave his a few days ago, the start of the week, and he made it look like he wasn't using it as a teleprompter.
It's very hard to
tell. It was there in the corner, But then famously in the past, well, not recent past, David Cameron, when he became the Conservative leader, did so partly on the strength of his ability to stand in front of the conference for 45 minutes and give a speech without
he didn't use anything.
And you have to think, it takes balls to do that, but then what do you want your leader to have? And it's, in some ways, it's a silly thing, because it's all just a memory game, but people were so impressed that he could do that.
But you know what I think, if it's the speech, and we'll talk about in a minute, the wedding speeches. If it's the speech that you're giving and you're now going to become party leader and it's everything that you passionately believe in, I would hope that you're not reading that off. I would hope, that that's coming fully from the brain and heart. However,
but the danger is, sorry to interrupt. The danger is, I think the year after then, Miliband, not David Miliband, the other one. Oh, I've forgotten his name. It'll come to me in a second. Anyway, he was then Labour Party leader, and he gave a speech at conference, and he did the David Cameron trick, only he went and missed sections because he didn't have the teleprompt. So Ed Miliband. So that's the danger.
I see. Because the podcasters, this is something that they're doing every single day. So it's a bit much to
you couldn't possibly.
No, and all the questions. I've got 3 of these, in a row. So you can't. But if it's your life speech, but let's talk about life speeches. Wedding speech. Lots of people need to prepare one. How do you even begin? How do you structure it to make sure that people go, that was a great speech.
Right. Well, first of all, I think know what the rules of your speech are. So for a father of the bride, they need to think about, what are they doing there? Well, they're there to welcome everybody, to welcome the groom into their family, to do a bit of a sales job on their daughter, and to wish the couple well. The groom speech. Now, this is interesting, of course, because it needn't be a groom speech. Really, it's the couple speech. And in the last few years, I've had the couple come to me because they've decided we're going to give that as a couple. So for the couple speech, really, again, that's about them thanking parents, anybody that's paid towards the day, people that have helped, the bridesmaids, the bridegrooms. And then it's nice when they can talk about one another and tell us why they are the perfect
something
fit.
romantic.
And then traditionally their toast should be towards the bridesmaids, and that's nice to do to the wedding party when it is the couple that are giving the speech, so we can have the bridesmaids toasted and the groomsmen toasted as well. Traditionally that's the way that should happen. And then of course then best man's speech. Ooh.
Scary for the bride.
Well,
what's gonna come out of this?
He's just sort of does a few thank yous and then tells everybody why his best friend or brother is a catch and is ready for this, and why
after the wild days.
Yeah, and why he knows that this union will be a success. And then again, his toast is to both couples. So sorry, I think it really is just about knowing what should your speech cover, because so many meander and get into other territory, which isn't good. I mean, I've seen a father of the bride speech where the father of the bride ended up talking about all the motorcycle trips he'd been on around Europe with his brother in the 70s and 80s. I mean, it went literally
God help us.
Direction. I mean, this went on for ages. And then
how awful. He literally ruined the wedding.
Groomsmen's speeches who, because they think, oh, this is the moment I'll tell my bride how much I love her, they also start telling their mother, their brother. It just becomes an excuse to tell everybody.
They might have had
how
a bit to
wonderful
drink by then.
Exactly. It can be over
Don't do it
sentimental.
drunk.
And although people are going, they're thinking, oh, stop it.
Yeah, cringy.
So, understanding the rules, keeping it short, keeping it original. People know when you've lifted a joke off the internet. The best jokes are those that come from actual stories that are true, or misunderstandings. So the groom thought this, meanwhile the bride's thinking that, and we've learned about this and there's a discrepancy. That's where you can really mine some original humour.
Okay. Gosh, a lot goes into it. Oh. Funerals. I mean, how difficult it must be to get up and do a speech when you're feeling that down. I mean, what are the do's and don'ts of a funeral, a speech at a funeral?
Right. So I think if it's a real close relative, it is nice for you to write the speech. Don't put the pressure on yourself to deliver it, though. If you think it's going to be too much, then have a good friend who understands your voice. So when they read the speech, they'll be able to read it in your voice. Have that person on hand so that if you can't do it, if you suddenly decide it's too much, somebody else can do it for you. Equally, do know that if you have a moment where you break down and you just have to stop, you just stop. You stop, you blow your nose, you rally, you continue. Nobody cares. Nobody thinks any less of you.
Okay. We spoke a little bit earlier about maybe the lack of teaching public speaking in schools. You don't see much of it, not that many opportunities. It might be the odd school play that you do once. Do you think that that's the case? Do you think they should be actively teaching public speaking as part of, let's say, the English curriculum, getting up, presenting? Do you think they should?
Oh, I don't think it would hurt at all.
It wouldn't hurt, would it?
I'm not an English teacher, so I don't know exactly what is covered on the curriculum. But when I was at school, every year we had to, as part of English, recite a poem and deliver a 10-minute speech. This was something that happened in class, and then you'd go through to speech day. And that was really great practice. Yeah. You learnt so much from doing that. Also, my school was an all-girls school, and I think that really helped me.
Yeah.
And this definitely, girls were given the floor, and I think in mixed settings, they're probably not given the floor so much. The boys tend to speak more, and then teachers will often invite those boys to speak in order to control them and discipline. So it's a case of, right, Tommy, if there's something you want to share, if they're being naughty, please share that with the class. What did you think to that? The questions are being directed at the boys more than they are the girls, just because the girls are less likely to misbehave. And then that follows through. And then when they get into the world of work, women have then become conditioned to be quiet and not be heard in that public space. So yes, I think the more they can be done, the better.
I mean, also for adults, just keep practicing every opportunity you have, even if it's in a restaurant. Ask things, to speak to strangers.
Oh, definitely. If it's a friend's 40th, do take a little speech along. The more you can do in day-to-day life,
You'll improve.
Yeah, just to send your voice out there.
My dad is such an extrovert and he's a terrific public speaker. One thing I have noticed that he does, sometimes it's a bit annoying, I have to say, but he does speak to people, like random strangers, and he'll strike up a conversation and speak to, it is also cultural things. You've got to be careful which country you're in. But he does tend to speak to people he doesn't know. And then they, in a nice way, and then they respond. And he has all these practices, the one-on-ones and things. And that also helps you to be a better speaker, doesn't it?
Oh, gosh, yeah. That not feeling self-conscious to do that. The art of conversation. I mean, I think that's probably what will need to be taught in schools as people, kids are on their phones.
The art of conversation.
And then suddenly, yes, they are thrown into a networking situation. And there it's not, you can't go and hide into your phone. You've got to go up and speak to people. I mean, it's so easy as well. Just ask a few questions. Pose a few questions. Apparently the Queen would always say when she was at events, what keeps you busy, or what keeps you busy? And you think, well, that's great because it doesn't matter what anyone does. You're not being a career sniffer and saying, what do you do? It's not, so what do you do?
What do you do?
Yeah. You're just saying, so what keeps you busy? And if somebody is unemployed but they're a terrific darts player, they're going to tell you about their darts. If they're a stay-at-home mum but they've got into knitting, they'll tell you all about that. If they are a CEO, it doesn't matter, but it's a really nice way in.
And it takes us right back to the beginning, which is you're considering the other person.
Yeah, take the pressure off yourself all the time by considering them being a host. How are they feeling? How can you make them feel better?
Emma, you've been terrific. Absolutely terrific. I've loved every second and I've absorbed it like a little sponge. And I hope that everyone else watching, that you've taken something from this and that we're all better speakers and better in the art of conversation.
Lovely.
It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alexandra.